With the city of Fayetteville and Cumberland County, they are gathering at the county courthouse right now for a live update on the expected conditions there and the plans in place to keep everyone safe.
Let's listen in.
He's right here. Hold my hand, honey. All right. On behalf of the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners, I want to urge our county residents to be vigilant and to be prepared. There is no such thing as a safe storm. And no matter what this is categorized as, it is dangerous. Our message this afternoon is simple, clear, and concise. If you are in flood-prone or low-lying areas, you need to seek alternate shelter now. We have 7 shelters that are open right now. We are coordinating transportation from to those shelters for those who don't have a way to get there. You may call our information line at 910-678-7657. That's 910-678-7657. So far, we have received at least 317 calls since 10 o'clock yesterday morning. I'm going to turn it over to Tracy Jackson of the county assistant manager, but not before I know my colleagues in the city are going to be recognized by the mayor. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, Chairman, Council. I'd like to also recognize my colleagues, Council members Kathy Jensen, Council members Tish Waddell, Council member Johnny Dawkins, and Council member Larry Wright, and Mayor Pro Tem Ted Moen. Thank you for being with us today. Commissioner Council said it best. This is for real. We are trying to impress upon our citizens in the city of Fayetteville that this is for real. Matthew, we had experienced that a few years ago, but we have impending differences with this storm versus that one, and we are severely concerned with the flooding. And so please do not become complacent. Please do not become comfortable. This is for real. And so we have a few pieces of information that we would like to relay to you on behalf of the city. And I would like to say before I do that, that our city manager, Doug Hewitt, and the city staff is doing a marvelous job coordinating and collaborating with the county. Visited a few shelters today. They are working. It is great to see the different agencies working for the people. The Department of Social Service was in there in a major way. We saw members from the mental health departments as well as the city of Fayetteville, and all of our collaborative efforts are really delivering a great service. So shelters are safe. They're an option, and please, if you are in a low-lying area, take advantage of that. So we are encouraging those living in floodplains to consider going to shelters. As I said before, Fayetteville Area System of Transit, or FAST, has suspended regular bus operations, but we will take people to shelters as needed. To schedule a bus pickup, shelters, citizens should call 910-678-7657. Again, 910-678-7657. Airport flights have been canceled. Customers should call their airlines about future schedules and rebookings. Rental car services will reopen on Saturday morning. Trash and yard pickup and recycling will not be picked up today or Friday. And so we will assess the situation and restore those services when it is practical and feasible. City offices closed at noon today and will be closed tomorrow, so please make provisions. The city's 4331 Fay call center is also closed. So citizens should call the number that I gave before, 910-678-7657, with work order requests. While there is no formal curfew in the city limits of Fayetteville at this time, curfew may be imposed at some point as the weather permits or warrants. City of Fayetteville residents are encouraged to stay off the roads as the weather is expected to worsen over the next few hours. This will allow for first responders and emergency vehicles to better navigate the roadways and to tend to those who are in need. So again, please adhere to those instructions. Please make provisions at this time to make your way to a shelter if you are in a low-lying or vulnerable area. God bless you.
Thank you, Mayor Colvin and Commissioner Jeanette Council. We have a lot of important information for you. We're going to go through this fairly quickly. As has been said, we cannot stress enough that folks need to take this situation seriously. We're very concerned about the track of this storm and the potential for it to stall out over southeastern North Carolina and dump flooding rains on our city and our county. So if you experience flooding during Matthew, take heed, do what you need to do to prepare and have a plan and have your supplies ready for tonight, no later than sunset. And then you also need to be thinking about your shelter. Is it where you need to be? If not, please, please contact us if you need transportation to get to a shelter. We have many shelter locations throughout the county. I'll cover those here in just a second. But you need to seriously consider about staying place or going to a shelter. There's not going to be a whole lot of time left if you decide to leave the county. It's getting to the point where you're going to have to decide to either stay in place or, again, seek shelter at one of our shelter locations. So with that, I'm going to go through some important information. Again, if you're in a low-lying area, you got to make that tough decision and make it soon. As of this afternoon, there are 286 people that have checked into our shelters. These shelters are located at the following places: Kiwanis Recreation Center, 352 Devers Street; Mac Williams Middle School, 4644 Clinton Road; Pine Forest High School, 525 Andrews Road; 71st High School, 6764 Rayford Road; Smith Recreation Center, 1520 Slater Avenue; Southview High School, 4184 Elk Road in Hope Mills; and W.T. Brown Elementary School, 2522 Andrews Church Road in Spring Lake. As far as current shelter numbers by location, we, as of 2:30, have 27 people at Kiwanis Rec Center, 17 people at Mac Williams Middle School, 40 people at Pine Forest High School, 48 people at 71st High School, 37 people at Smith Rec Center, 109 at Southview High School, and 8 at W.T. Brown Elementary School. Again, anyone who needs transportation to one of the shelters should call 910-678-7657. Transportation will be coordinated until 8 p.m. tonight, and FAST is our primary provider of that transportation. We also take pets at Pine Forest High School and Southview High School. We have accommodations there for those. I currently have 25 pets between the two different shelter locations, including one bird. So we have a variety of folks and a variety of people ready to help. But keep in mind, if you're bringing an animal that we are dependent upon you to take care of that animal, please don't forget to bring pet food, medication, a crate if you have it, collars, leashes, and any vaccination records that you have for your animal. Again, animal control will be on site, but the owners will be expected to provide daily care for their animals during the stay at the shelter. If you need specific shelter information and have access to the internet, please go to Cumberland County's website at www.co.cumberland.nc.us. Also, please remember, do not call 911 unless you have a truly life-threatening emergency and need police, fire, or EMS. The County Communications Center so far has taken 138 informational calls since our Emergency Operations Center was activated yesterday. The information line that we established has been very helpful in taking the burden off of our 911 center in the city and the county. So please be sure to give us a call if it's non-emergency on the non-emergency line at 910-678-7657. So at this point, I will turn it over to Scott Bullard for emergency management information with the city.
Good afternoon. I just have a very simple request, and that request is, everybody listening, I need your help. I want to recruit you to join the team of the first responders that are about to go into this storm tonight. And with that being said, your contribution is avoiding the problems that might invoke us having to come get you out of a bad situation. If you can stay at home, heed the warnings, respect the barricades, and you can do so much by not getting involved in a bad situation that may easily take your life.
Before we take questions, I just want to reiterate from the city side, we've got a couple ways for you to stay in touch with us, and you've heard this before, but it does bear worth repeating. First, make sure you check out the city's website, FayettelleNC.gov. If you go to the top of that site, there's an alert banner there. It contains a link to all the important information we've got from the city side that will direct you to the right place and getting information. If that doesn't work, the number's been repeated numerous times here, but go to this number here and call the information hotline. Second, follow us on social media, Facebook and Twitter. We're putting out information there all the time to keep you informed of what's going on. And then finally, if nothing else, download our city app. The city app has information on there about what's going on with the storm, links to our website, and we also have the capability for push notifications on there to keep you informed of what we deem to be alerts.
And then always remember, sign up for Cumberland Alerts. You can go to Cumberland County's website, co.cumberland.nc.us, and alerts, and then you can sign out those. We'll get those emergency notifications. Follow the county on Facebook and Twitter. We'll have that information as well. So we'll take some questions now.
Red Cross, I talked to Red Cross representatives beforehand. From what I understand, they're asking people going to the shelters to bring bedding materials when they go to the shelters. What all can people bring to the shelters to be prepared?
You can bring things with you that are very simple. Obviously, there's not going to be a whole lot of space at the shelters, so just the basic necessities. Just what you need. There'll be a cot, there'll be an area for you and your belongings, but keep it simple. And if it's a pillow, blanket, that type of thing, they have some if you need them, but you're always going to be better if you can bring your own.
What about meals?
Meals will be provided. Yes, Red Cross provides meals at the shelter.
Can the mayor address again the possibility of a curfew and the whys?
So in the emergency declaration, there's a provision that says that the chief of police can invoke the curfew at her discretion, and so she will make that call as needed. But right now, in the city limits, there's not a curfew.
And that curfew will be based on what? And what would be the need for something like that?
I'll let Chief Hawkins, if she would like to address that.
Thank you.
So the curfew is going to be dependent on a lot of different things, but ultimately it's to keep the community safe and to keep the safe. If, for example, in the middle of the night, we don't expect to see people out there walking. So to keep the community safe, we're going to say, hey, stay inside. But if we should see you, we're going to confront you and say, what are you doing? Because we don't want you to be arrested. So all those decisions will be on multiple issues before it's made. We'll make a decision in our command staff. I'll discuss it with the city manager before that it's made.
How will people know if they're, in their houses and maybe with no electricity? How will they know there is a curfew in place?
So we are going to push that information out, but highly likely right now we are telling you to stay inside your home. Right now, stay inside your home or go to the shelters now. If you take those instructions of either going to your home or staying in a shelter, you will be okay. Okay?
Ms. Mayor, we talked a few seconds ago about the concerns about the Cape Fear River. A lot of people, and I just did a live shot where we showed that the river is down low, but the fact that that hurricane is off the coast is kind of acting like a stopper. Talk about that concern and how quickly the Cape Fear is expected to rise based on the scenario that we have right now.
Well, I was down there earlier today and spoke with some folks from the Weather Channel as well as members of our staff who said that these tributaries that are emptied into our rivers and particularly upstream, some of those folks are making preventive measures to lower their water levels. And so with the hurricane as it sits at the end, it's preventing the river to take its natural flow into the Atlantic Ocean. And so that is a major area of concern that is a little bit different from Matthew. And that's why I said before, this is something that we have to really take serious. So even though the storm itself has been downgraded with the wind, it's the water that really did us a lot of damage with Matthew. And so hopefully we'll learn from that.
Is there outside help that's being brought in, other surrounding communities that are kind of at the ready to assist if things things get bad here?
Well, I have seen a number of people from a number of places. I met at the shelters this morning. Everyone from Red Cross was from Minnesota, Nebraska, Wisconsin. I ran into a swift water rescue team from Lincoln, Nebraska last night. So people are really coming in, and that is a powerful thing to show that our neighbors from across the country are coming in to give us a hand.
Can you talk a little bit about the wind? I thought I heard you say it was a little bit reduced risk from that, but yet I do see more businesses than is typical boarding up. So what's the current thinking on?
Well, certainly I don't want to imply that I'm a subject matter expert, but I hear people, everyday people who say that the storm is being downgraded from a Category 4 to a 2, and they use that as a guide of the amount of seriousness that they attribute to it. And simply I'm saying that even if that is the case, that you have an impending danger with the water and the flooding, which is really what impacted us so hard 2 years ago.
And a couple more questions. First, quick ones. Would there be, at the shelters, going back to the shelters, would there be any place for people to plug in their devices, for instance, cell phones?
I'm sure, but what I'll do is I'll probably defer to Mr. Jackson. The county basically had took control of the shelter operations. So.
Thank you, Mayor. It's going to be limited, I'll be honest with you. I mean, we're talking gymnasiums and that type of thing. It's not going to be readily available. If you have the ability to bring, a backup battery, charger, you might get the juice out of that battery, and that may be about all you have. So.
Last question. There are 2 shelters designated for folks who have pets.
Yes.
If those 2 should fill up and someone still needs to get in the shelter with a pet, will you be able to accommodate that?
Yes. Yes, we will. And actually, in terms of bringing outside resources, those are things we're looking at. What do we do if the shelter hits capacity? We've already requested additional resources from outside the county, not just in terms of the rescue side of it, in terms of water rescue and that type of thing, but also things as simple as, well, what if we fill up our pet accommodations? So, okay. I'm not going to rush this, but you can imagine we have a lot of operational things that we have to deal with, and so there are a number of us that need to get back to the Emergency Operations Center. So I'll turn it back over to Kevin and Sally. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you again very much for coming today. Communication is critical. Stay in touch with our websites that Sally and I have already mentioned before. Press releases will be sent out again whenever we've got any pertinent operational updates that we can share with the community, and our next press conference yet to be determined, but we will certainly do our best to keep you informed. Thank you.
So we've been watching live coverage of the Cumberland County Emergency Operations Center, Cumberland County Board of Commissioners, the Mayor of Fayetteville, City Council members, the whole emergency management team. Their biggest message here, stay vigilant, be prepared. They say there is no such thing as a safe storm. Category 2, Hurricane Florence bearing down on the Carolinas right now. The outer bands of that storm hitting coastal Carolina as we speak and slowly churning. We'll start feeling its effects here in the Triangle as the day goes on.
Yeah, and Duke Power, all the energy companies are telling millions of people to prepare for those outages. Right now, the Office of Emergency Management is reporting that there are 16,711 outages, and those hardest hit Carteret, Craven, and Pender counties with the effects.
And folks right now in those low-lying areas, especially down in the Sandhills, which had a tremendous impact during Hurricane Matthew. There was a big concern during that press conference just now about them. They reiterated there are shelters that are open and still have space accepting anyone who wants to evacuate their home. 7 shelters in Cumberland County right now. If you need a ride to one of those shelters, you can call this number, 910-678-7657. They'll send a bus over, get you to your house, but that's a decision that you need to be making right now.
Right now, we also want to toss it over to meteorologist Steve Stewart, who has been tracking the latest as Florence starts to impact North Carolina. Steve?
All right, Amber, Joel, thank you very much. Yeah, we're in it now. I mean, for the next 48 hours and maybe then some, we'll be talking about the effects across our state. But already seeing the bands coming in, significant rain, winds at 105 right around the center of the storm, pressure at 955 millibars. So it has weakened just a little bit. The forward motion slowing down. That's going to be the biggest problem here. And sometime tomorrow morning, it's saying around 8 a.m., but give or take an hour, potentially from Emerald Isle all the way down to Bald Head Island, maybe making landfall. And again, the right-hand right-hand side of the storm is going to be the significant surge and the strongest winds, but this is going to be slow moving. This is Friday evening, still not that far away, and still very slow as it moves inland during the day on Saturday. Now, we're again on the right-hand side, but this storm is so massive, we'll be dealing with outer bands for hours and hours and hours, and the winds will be an issue too. Look at the track. It's all the way over towards Asheville, up through the mountains. Significant rain there as well. Flash flooding a concern, and then it pushes well to the north around us. So you think, oh, it's moving around us. Well, look how massive this storm is in size. So even if the center stays to our south, we're still going to be on the effects around the triangle. The heaviest is going to be in the Sandhills and point southward. Here's a closer view. You can see some of the heavier outer bands now making it to the Outer Banks. Significant overwash happening already, and I expect that trend to continue for hours and hours. Look at this heavy band now moving right across the Crystal Coast. There you see the center of the storm still well offshore, about 90 to 95 miles offshore. This is Atlantic Beach. Look at the camera bouncing around. You can see the seas are getting rather angry and larger, getting closer and closer there to the dunes, and we'll see that level picking up. For us, let's talk about rain through Wednesday. A kind of a tight gradient from 3 to 5 inches, potentially to 20 plus. And you can see this area can shift north or south, but there could be significant rainfall across the area. Let's break it down and put some towns on there so you get a feel for what we're thinking. Roxborough to Oxford, South Hill, Norlina, Roanoke Rapids, about 2 to 4 inches of rainfall. Winds at 15 to 25, gusts to 30 and 35. We'll put that in the elevated impact category. Farther south, moderate impacts. Lewisburg, Nashville, Wake Forest, Durham, basically the triangle up to Butner. Look at the difference in rain. 6 to 8 inches possible. Winds at 20 to 30 miles an hour and gusts at 40 to 45. And then southern parts of Wake County, all the way down to Lillington, Holly Springs, Sanford, Pinehurst, over to Wendell, Wilson, and Tarboro. We're looking at an increase possibility of threat to life and property. Winds could be at 30 to 40, but gusts to 50, and 7 to 10 inches of rain. And it's worse the farther south you go. Once we get down to the southern part of the Sandhills there, the potential is extreme impacts and significant threat to life and property, including pretty much all of Cumberland County for now. Dunn, Clinton, over to Goldsboro, Lumberton, and Laurinburg too, where gusts could be as high as 60 to maybe 70 miles an hour, and 10 to 20 inches of rainfall possible. Now that gradient may be from 10 around Dunn to southern parts there of Sampson County, closer to 20 inches. But again, we're going to monitor how these bands are moving in, because the storm is so incredibly large, about 560 miles across. You take the southernmost tip of South Carolina to our border with Virginia, it's about 328 miles. So it's significantly larger than the Carolinas put together. Northern counties not in a flash flood watch as of yet, but the triangle southward, flash flood watch all the way through Saturday p.m. It's going to take some time before those heavy bands move out. And being that we are on the right-hand side of the storm, we are talking about the potential for isolated spin-ups. Tornado watch not in our viewing area yet, but that might change as we get into tomorrow, especially in our southern counties, closer to the center of the storm. Power outages, again, lesser chance farther north, higher chance farther south. You can't take this graphic literally, but the potential is there that we're going to be dealing with power outages. Buoy reports, you can see the winds. Some of these buoys showing 47-mile-an-hour winds. Cape Lookout showing around 66-mile-an-hour winds. I had some that were offshore, upwards of around 80 miles an hour. This one at 49 there, and Duck showing 33. But here's some more buoys there offshore. Look at the winds really kicking up there at 77 miles an hour. So the winds are picking up, and the slow movement as it moves along the coast will be pushing all that water onshore. So that's going to be the biggest threat along our coastline. With the addition of the rainfall, it's also that storm surge that's going to cause incredible amounts of damage, and the beach erosion is really going to be significant, especially along those beaches that just had replenishments done. That sand really hasn't packed yet, so that's all going to be taken back out to sea likely with a storm of this magnitude. Wind gust forecast. This is our in-house RPM model, not as bullish as the GFS model, but still, as we go through tonight, we'll have gusts at 30 to 40 miles an hour, but along the coast by early tomorrow morning, we could have that 50, 60, 70 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts. When we get that white shade, that's indicating 80 miles an hour. So again, the farther north, wind not as much of a problem. It'll be noticed. The farther south, it will be an issue. And that takes us all the way through midday tomorrow. Still gusty winds. There's Friday PM, still gusty, but this number is coming down. So this model, if this verifies, wind won't be as much of an issue. But if that forward motion of the storm is slower, we are going to have issues all the way through Saturday. So flooding, our main concern, especially in the Sandhills. Power outages with those high winds are in the high category. And again, that tornado threat being on the side that we are, we have to watch for spin-ups. They're typically EF0s or EF1s, and they are hard to find because a lot of times they are rain-wrapped. We do our best to find them and warn you quickly, and the warning might only last potentially for a few minutes as they spin up quickly and die very quickly, but they can do a significant amount of damage. Look at the swells offshore at some of these buoys, 24 feet there, so that surge is going to be an issue. This comes from the National Hurricane Center. It's backed off a little bit up the Cape Fear River, and that might be because of the position of where they're expecting landfall to be, just to the north of that. So the right-hand side is the onshore flow. The left-hand side is offshore, wrapped tightly around that center of circulation. But it's still suggesting up around Wilmington, maybe back to Leland, up to 5-foot surge. And then as we get farther to the north, Queens Creek, Swansboro, could have issues. Emerald Isle, but I will tell you the biggest issue so far with this model is right up the Neuse River. Again, the water's coming in. This is almost like a dam, right? Because the water's trying to be pushed back up. So it doesn't allow the normal stream flow. So it's going to be filling up and causing major flooding potential around New Bern, Fairfield Harbor, and potentially up to Kinston as well. So, and again, this is going to take hours and hours to fill up. We could be talking about flooding long after Florence is gone. Guys?
Yeah, the flooding will be the long-term story. Right now, we've got to get through the immediate impacts of this hurricane. Steve Stewart on that for us. Steve, thank you. Last time we saw Diane Wilson on our newscast, she was in Wrightsville Beach, but she, just like everybody else on Wrightsville Beach, evacuated further inland. She's in Wilmington now.
Right. A lot of people had to move, but Wrightsville Beach, Wilmington, Diane, all starting to feel the effects as those outer bands of Hurricane Florence start to move in. And this is such a slow-moving storm that everyone's saying just because it's going to be sitting for so long, we're talking about just about 40 hours of dumping rainfall on that area there. So are you starting to see some of those rain bands?
You know, Amber and Joel, it is starting to rain. You can see it's starting to rain, and we are still very close. That is the drawbridge right there from Wilmington into Wrightsville Beach. Now, Wrightsville Beach, police are on guard. They're not letting anyone get on the island. So that is the drawbridge that takes you on to Wrightsville Beach. Across the bridge there, you can see some businesses, some homes. Some are boarded up, some are not. The Blue Water Grill there, the one with the aqua roof line there, that is boarded up. But you see the boats still in the water, surprisingly, with Hurricane Florence making their way. You can see the water, still the wind. We're not really feeling that yet, but the rain has started. Surprisingly, with Florence coming our way, we have people out here fishing. I'm not kidding. We have a woman over there in the red. She just caught a drum fish. They said this is some of the best fishing, so they're out here trying to catch a few last fish before the storm really rolls in. They say they will leave, obviously, and move inland once that storm does come. But, yes, we have some people fishing out here as Hurricane Florence, the Outer Banks, and start to make their way in. But the businesses are boarded up. The big concern, like Amber and Joel mentioned, all of the rainfall and the storm surge we're expected to get here. Right now, I'm on the dock. This time tomorrow, I can only imagine I cannot probably be here. This is expected to be underwater if we're getting all that rain that's coming our way. So we're here for now. We will move inland. Our hotel is further inland, a couple miles. We're in downtown Wilmington. Those businesses are already also, the Cape Fear River's right there. Their businesses are boarded up. Very hard to find any businesses open here. Grocery stores, everything is closed. We found a few mom and pop shops open today, but that's about it. So everyone is waiting and watching. As far as who's on Wrightsville Beach, not many people at all. There's police on there. A few homeowners we talked with decided to ride out the storm. They will be able to get back over if they choose to leave. That is Wrightsville Beach you're looking at on the other side of that drawbridge there. They will not be able to get back on the island, though. Once they choose to leave, they cannot get back on. And emergency officials are saying once the storm gets gets in the heat of things and really goes into effect, they will not be able to do any emergency personnel over there once the storm does come into play here on that Wrightsville Beach area. That is a mandatory evacuation. I see a boat out there further down. It could be docked, but it's surprising to me how many boats are still left on the waters here, considering the storm surge, the winds, the rains that are expected to hit here. So that's the latest here from the Wrightsville Beach side and the Wilmington area. Again, flooding, the storm surge, that's on the minds of a lot of people here. They did have a lot of people evacuate. There's still a lot of people in Wilmington that have stayed to ride out this storm. So we will see as the storm continues to make its way here. Reporting live, I'm Diane Wilson. Back to you guys.
Diane Wilson evacuating just like the rest of Wrightsville Beach. I'm going to ride out this storm in Wilmington. Diane, be safe. We'll be checking in with you a lot over the next few days or so. One of the big areas to be hard hit by Hurricane Matthew was the Greenville area, the Tar River.
Yes.
The Tar River flooding was incredible,
yep.
Incredible pictures. So we wanted to have a reporter stationed there.
Yeah, so we sent Ed Crump. He moved. He was in the Outer Banks the last couple of days, and now he joins us in Greenville, just off the Tar River, where, Ed, I know that looking at all of these floodplains, this is the areas where emergency officials say this is where they really start to back up.
Yeah, it is, and it's amazing how far up the storm surge comes, and there's a double whammy here. First, we get the storm surge, then we get all the rain and everything that's upstream coming back downstream. So it is a double whammy. I do want to say before I talk about Greenville for a moment that yes, we were on the Outer Banks for the last 3+ days, and when we left there, it was pretty much a ghost town. I was pretty impressed with how many people evacuated. Not only all the tourists gone, but a whole lot of the people who have been there through many, many storms decided not to take a chance on this one and left. We evacuated too, and I want to mention what I heard what Diane said about the Wrightsville and Wilmington area. Same with the Outer Banks. As we left the Outer Banks, there were police officers and sheriff's deputies posted at major intersections with their blue lights on in the middle of the road. They're not letting anybody back. So I will tell you, the hotels here in Greenville are full with refugees, and now all the local residents are watching. So back here on the Tar River, we're at a place called Town Commons. It's a whole little complex that the town of Greenville has built out here. It's been a really popular place today. I want to show you up here in the parking lot. You see already a police officer who's up here talking with folks. They've been patrolling here, and all the residents in the area have been patrolling too, really coming, some just driving through and looking, others getting out and walking. You see a woman walking up there, and everybody I talked to said that they are measuring. That's what they're doing here. They're trying to see how high the water is now and where it's going to be after the storm, because everyone recalls Matthew. So what had happened with Matthew, where I'm standing right now, completely underwater. In fact, I'm going to have photographer Skeeta Courier show you this wall up here. They've got like a river walk here. It's really pretty, an area where you can walk down, and you see that steel wall there and then the railing above it. After Matthew, the water was over the top of that black railing. That's how much water was down here. So even people that don't live in the low-lying areas of Greenville have been coming out here and looking and talking to everybody, because they say that, you know, one of the concerns they have is, even though some people may be on high ground, the flooding and then the slight winds and everything else have, you know, all the rain and everything has put down trees, and sometimes just the flooding alone can cause power outages, which affects so many people. So while they're not really terribly worried about this tonight's wind and the rain, what they are concerned about is that storm surge initially, and then, as I mentioned, all the water that flows downstream from points north everywhere along the Tar River throughout North Carolina all the way down here. So again, Amber and Joel, the flooding is the big concern at this point. That's the major concern here in Greenville, and this area right here was completely underwater after Matthew. So folks are kind of gauging. They, you know, those who aren't worried about any flooding are gauging. They want to see how high this is going and how this storm will compare to Matthew. And all I can say about that is we're just going to have to wait and see. But folks here being very, very cautious right now, and everybody taking it easy, just waiting to see what happens.
Yeah, waiting and seeing, and I guess it's still fresh in their minds just how high the Tar River can get.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wasn't that long ago that Matthew just flooded that area. So.
Less than 2 years. Ed Crump, close the trunk on Breaking News 1 when you get your jacket. Sarah, it's going to start to rain there very, very soon. We will see you.
We'll have it on shortly.
Okay, thank you, man.
All right, we want to take you live and check some of the conditions. You know, this camera here, this explore.org camera at the Frying Pan Tower, if you look on Twitter, everyone's saying this is one of the best spots to try to monitor the conditions. This is a former Coast Guard light station that is 35 miles off the shore of Bald Head Island, North Carolina. This tower has seen many hurricanes in its time. It is now going to face the wrath of Florence. It was built back in 1964, all to help those ships avoid the shallow frying pan shoals in the area. But it's now a unique bed and breakfast that is 90 feet, perched 90 feet above the Atlantic Ocean. And we should also add that there is no one in the tower at this time. As long as we keep getting this live stream from explore.org, which sponsors that camera, we'll keep checking on it. Yes, you know, it's so remote. I did a story out there.
That's right. This is the tower you went to.
Yes, you have to take a helicopter to get out there, and the camera does have a tendency to go out because they're sending a signal back to the Bald Head Island area, Southport.
It is a unique perspective to get, though, because it's so far off the coast, 35 miles off the coast there, so it kind of gives us an idea of what is coming our way.
Right, and you know, on a good day, it's also pretty windy out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So that flag has been tattered before, and they keep putting it back up. Frying Pan Tower. Been there since 1964.
They have a lot of them hanging inside the tower, actually, from different storms. I think I have some pictures. I'll tweet them out.
We also want to get a check on our air transit right now. We heard in our Cumberland County news conference at the top of the hour that Fayetteville Regional closed, all flights canceled. Biggest airport in the viewing area, of course, is RDU. Bridget Condon standing by there.
Bridget, tell us about the conditions. I know that Southwest, I think, canceled all flights in and out of RDU today. Is that correct?
Yeah, Amber, that is correct. Things are fairly calm here at RDU. We haven't seen long lines. We haven't seen anyone rushing. We have seen a lot of cancellations, as you just mentioned. Southwest is one of those airlines that's not operating today. Also Air Canada, Alaska, Frontier, JetBlue. RDU is reporting over 50 arrivals and 50 departures are all canceled today. They obviously expect more cancellations throughout the night, and airlines are operating tomorrow. They're going to play it by ear and figure out how strong this storm hits, whether they can fly tomorrow or not. I talked to one family earlier today at the airport. They were vacationing down in the Outer Banks. Obviously, they were evacuated. They had to drive up here to RDU. They were just hoping that their flight takes off tonight, trying to get back home safely and avoid everything that's happening here in the Triangle. On the other side of that, we talked to people who were arriving from vacation. They flew in just in time. They said they're trying to get out of here and rush home for some last-minute preparations to their house before the storm really hits us hard. As you can see, though, the big story here at the airport, not a lot of action here. A lot of flights are canceled. So if you're planning to fly out tonight or tomorrow, just keep in mind that cancellations are ongoing and you should check online before you get here. We've seen people, the majority of people, just come in straight from the street and turn to this board to check if their flight is on time, delayed, or canceled. We'll hear from a lot of these travelers coming up later at 5. For now, guys, we're live at the airport. Bridget Condon, ABC11 Eyewitness News.
Bridget, thank you. We're going to continue to check back in. There's always a ripple-down effect when you have a severe weather event like this one that can affect so many other cities. Yes, so that is an important angle there.
Let's go back to Fayetteville now. Morgan Norwood was at that news conference with emergency managers in Cumberland County and the city as well. Morgan, we want your perspective, because when you started this job at ABC11, it was days after Hurricane Matthew struck, and you talked to so many different victims of the storm, flood victims, folks who live in those low-lying areas around Cumberland County. They've got to be concerned today, and emergency managers had a special message for them.
Absolutely, Joel. You heard in that press conference, that was really just the last push for folks to prepare, get to those shelters. We are just hours away from Hurricane Florence making her way towards Fayetteville. I'm joined now by Emergency Management Coordinator Scott Bullard. You put out a really interesting message to the folks here. You asked for them to help. Usually you guys are going out to help. What was your message today?
Our message is simply we have to have the people that are listening here on this broadcast to partner with us. Our resources are going to be strapped beyond comprehension, and we don't want to needlessly have to respond somewhere if it could have been avoided. So heed the warnings, stay inside. If you don't need to drive around, stay off the roads, because you might get in an accident and that just taxes us all the more. And you could needlessly be harmed as well.
And a big part of that, we've been telling people to get to the shelters. There's a number that they can call to get transportation, so there really is no excuse at this point. But for those who feel the need to stay home, they may have generators, things like that, they still are facing a big risk with this storm as well. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, always. There are no magic bullets in this process, and while some people feel the comfort of a generator that's going to keep certain functions working, most of your listeners don't have generators that run the entire household. So you have to be careful with them. If you don't have a transfer switch, they need to remain outside and run drop cords to them. You also have to worry about the weather, whether they're being rained on or they might cause some other electrical shock hazard there. And the paramount thing that affects us as a fire department is the fuel that's put in them. If you put the wrong fuel in them, you could cause a fire, and that would be terrible to burn your home down while you're just simply trying to power it, and worse yet, being electrocuted.
Absolutely, and all week long we've been talking about the lessons learned from Matthew. You were talking with me yesterday. You've got fire departments and rescue teams strategically placed across the city. Talk to me about that strategy this time around with this type of storm.
We do. We use tools that are not uncommon, or really uncommon anywhere in any industry these days, with geographic information systems, or GIS as people want to label it. We have the flood-prone areas mapped, in addition to what we know just from institutional knowledge and kind of the common street conventional wisdom. And our forces are kind of divided also with a scheme of being the closest at any given time, even on a sunny day. They're located on the east and west sides of town. All we've done is merely beef them up, add some for the trouble spots, and then we have some that can kind of float as things arise that maybe we didn't think about, or things that just couldn't be predicted. And there's more help coming in. I just met a team from Nebraska, Task Force 1, which is a federal urban search and rescue team, coming into the county to support that effort in the rural areas.
So a lot of support at this point, and the big message that we're driving home this afternoon is we need your support, we need your help. Make sure that you're prepared as Florence makes its way towards the Sand Hills. We are live here in Fayetteville. I'm Morgan Norwood, ABC11 Eyewitness News.
And if you watched Morgan Norwood's reporting yesterday, you saw her in the middle of the Cape Fear River because she was being rescued by choice. She jumped in, and those swiftwater rescue teams pulled her out. They were training for what they may have to go through over the next few days and hours. We're hoping we don't see any of that, but they are at the ready.
Yes, so we want to go to an area that is also been very prone to flooding, as we have seen historically, and we're talking about the area around Crabtree Valley Mall in Raleigh.
Yeah, Elena Athens standing by at Crabtree Valley Mall, which we have seen underwater many, many times, but we've been watching your Twitter, Elena. It looks like the mall taking some precautions we haven't even seen there before.
Yeah, it's none that I've ever seen, but that's not to say those preparations have never happened, but I've certainly never seen them. And it has been a really busy day out here, not necessarily only at Crabtree Valley Mall, but also the businesses around the mall. Where I'm at right now is right by the Bank of America. That sits closer to Glenwood Avenue, a good bit away from Crabtree Creek. And right here, you will notice that there are these metal barriers protecting windows, as well as some folks who are stopping by rather quickly to hit up the ATM. But these are flood planks, so they're actually right over here, some excess that has been left behind. These have gone up in several different areas. These are really heavy, and what they do is they stack these on top of each other and then reinforce them together, hoping that this will provide some protection once floodwaters potentially do hit this area. We've seen these planks go up not only by the Bank of America, but also at Crabtree Valley Mall, the lower level entrance to Macy's, as well as the Sears. I will say right now, Crabtree Valley Mall is closed. That shut down at 3 o'clock this afternoon. However, the mall is warning, or not warning rather, but saying that some restaurants will remain open at their own choosing, and stores, anchor stores, they will reopen on their own. I saw a sign posted outside of Sears that says that particular anchor store is going to reopen on Sunday, but it's kind of play by ear of when some places will reopen. City officials are rather concerned right now about these low-lying areas, Crabtree Creek, as well well as Walnut Creek. We know that 26,000 city residents live in low-lying areas. Yesterday, officials were out knocking on doors, handing out flyers, letting folks know that they could get flooded in. So they were urging and encouraging folks to get out, reach higher ground. I did speak to one man in the Brentwood neighborhood who said after receiving a notice at his door, he is going to consider going with family members a little farther inland in the Durham area. He said he's going to go. So that's a little bit of the preps that we're seeing here. But again, a lot of barriers going up as folks are trying to protect their businesses, keep those flood waters out, potentially when Crabtree Creek could spill over. Amber and Joel.
Yeah, I wouldn't believe it if we hadn't seen the flooding so bad there before so many times. Crabtree Mall, one of the biggest indoor malls in the area, is in a floodplain. Yes. And we've seen it flood, and it likely could flood during Hurricane Florence, so they're taking precautions there. Elena, thank you for that.
All right, we want to check in now with Steve Daniels, who is in the Breaking News Center. And Steve, you're monitoring some of the staging areas that emergency crews are putting up right now?
Right, yeah. Amber and Joel, you know, we've been telling you Duke Energy was predicting between 1 and 3 million customers might be without power in the aftermath of Hurricane Florence as it moves through the Carolinas. So they've really been mobilizing an amazing number of crews, and this should all give us some comfort as we are concerned about potentially losing power. Take a look. We had Chopper 11 HD over Wake County flying over the Walnut Creek Amphitheater, and you can see there that Duke Energy has brought in crews. Some of these are tree cutting crews that will be mobilized. If trees are brought down onto power lines, they'll be able to go in there and get these trees removed from the power lines. We do have that video, I believe, from Chopper 11 HD that we can show you as those crews are mobilizing. It's really a substantial amount of resources coming in from Duke Energy. Duke Energy says it has never mobilized this number of power crews from across the country. So this is that video from Walnut Creek Amphitheater, from the parking area there, the place you normally go for concerts. But right now, those places where you park at a concert are being used as staging areas for these tree crews, and also you see lots of those utility trucks there. They are standing by and ready to go. Duke Energy says it has brought in nearly 11,000 workers. There are 8,000 North Carolina workers, and then on top of that, they brought in 1,700 utility crews from the Midwest and 1,200 from Florida. And they say they've never brought together this many utility workers for a severe weather event here in the Carolinas. So it's great to see what Duke Energy is doing, getting ready for what could come in terms of power outages. Take a look at some other video we have from one of our crews in Durham. They just came across this site at Northgate Mall. This is at a hotel there, and these are crews who have come in from Tennessee. You can see here truck after truck after truck just waiting. These crews are resting up. They're waiting for orders when the power goes out. Already there are some power outages being reported. About 16,000 customers reporting power outages right now in the eastern part of the state in Carteret, Craven, and Pender counties. Earlier today in Raleigh, I was near the Doubletree Hotel on Hillsborough Street, and I put some video on Facebook of power crews I saw there. Same situation as we see here in Durham. It was truck after truck after truck. I saw license plates from Indiana and New Jersey, and all of those utility workers are getting rested up right now, getting the rest they need, because we know once Florence moves through and the power outages are there, they will be working probably around the clock, getting the rest whenever they can. But this is very reassuring, I think, for us all that these power crews are here, ready to go, ready to respond. We also have seen a number of first responders, firefighters, paramedics, those kinds of people. They are here. Governor Cooper, in fact, met with some of them, thanked them for coming here to North Carolina. They're staging in Garner right now. So really a mobilization of these resources. It's great to see all of these people coming from all across the country to help us out here in the days ahead.
Certainly is, Steve. Certainly is. Duke Energy, the largest utility in the Carolinas, and they are predicting power outages ranging between 1 and 3 million customers. So certainly, if that plays out, it's going to take an army to get the lights back on, and the cavalry is already
arrived.
here.
Yeah, it does. It warms your heart when you see them, and you see all the different license plates to know that there's so much support in the country. It's great. Speaking of someone who's going to be working a lot as this storm arrives, yes. Chief Meteorologist Chris Holman, and hope you're rested up, Chris, as we start to see Florence moving in towards North Carolina.
Yeah, hey, Amber and Joe. Yeah, all set. Yeah, a lot of folks here, a lot of folks out, like the power crews. Going to have some long days ahead, but we're going to get you through it. And Florence, good news is that it has weakened the winds. That's good news. It's not necessarily good news for the storm surge. That's still going to be probably a higher than a Category 1 storm surge, but at least the destruction from the winds won't be as great as they would have been from a 140 or 30 mile per hour hurricane that was forecast to slam into our coast. So we're grateful for the little things right now. Here it is again, still offshore, making its approach, but slowing down. Now it's going 10 miles an hour. Remember last night, yesterday it was going about 18, 17 miles per hour. There's the center. It is a big storm, and the rain shield is going to be fairly expansive as well, moving west-northwest now at 10. As of 2 o'clock, or 3 o'clock, excuse me, just a while ago, it was 105 miles east-southeast of Wilmington. Forecast to continue moving towards the south coast, towards Wilmington, Wrightsville Beach, Bald Head Island. Tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, potential landfall as a Category 2 hurricane. So the wind will be an issue, but mainly the rain. The storm surge is going to cause a lot of inundation all the way through the Outer Banks, too. And then still taking that turn through South Carolina. Saturday morning, it's a tropical storm, and Sunday morning, it's making its way into the upstate, and things will start to improve here during the day Sunday. But we got a long couple of days ahead, and then it cruises all the way up into the Ohio Valley, into the Great Lakes, too, as a remnant low. There are some outer bands of showers, isolated thunder here, rolling southwestward about 40 miles per hour. There are pockets of very heavy rain on First Alert Doppler radar. You can see some north Wake County, also into parts of Franklin County, Sampson County, too. There have been some signs of weak rotation with this, so it's not impossible. There's an isolated tornado through the afternoon into the evening, overnight as well. The main threat looks to be to the east of us, where there is a tornado watch in effect. Morehead City radar, though, picking up the center of the storm. Look at the heavy rain bands already crashing on shore. Winds have already gusted to 50 to 60 miles per hour across the southern Outer Banks there, and gusts around Wilmington have been close to 40 at times at Wrightsville Beach. But there's the center, bands of very heavy rain moving on shore. It's in those bands of heaviest rain that you see the gustiest winds. And from the Morehead City site, it's about 98 miles, the center of Florence, to the southeast, moving towards the northwest. There's a look at Atlantic Beach, rough seas there. The camera's still operating, though. That's good news. Power's still on. Here's our first alert predictor, one of many, many models we look at. So you can't take this one as the absolute truth. We go by the hurricane center path, but this one is pretty close. Notice this evening, 6:30, still well to the southeast of the coast. It's not until tomorrow morning because it slows down. It runs into that atmospheric brick wall. Here we are, 2 a.m. Heaviest rain and wind really crank up across the coast. Then it continues slowly westward. Tomorrow morning at 10:30, still around Wrightsville Beach. Tomorrow evening, just a little bit southwest of Wrightsville Beach. Notice the heaviest rains near the center. So our heaviest rains still look to be across the sandhills. This model doesn't throw a lot of heavy rain into the triangle. That's a possibility, but I think it's a little bit underdone. I think there will be heavy rain around the triangle, but just not as much as to the south. And notice here we are Saturday. During the day, it's still just taking its sweet time through the day, cruising there through South Carolina. So the heavy rain is going to continue, and the heaviest rain near the center and about maybe 100 miles to the north, and that's where there could be really catastrophic flooding. So this is the latest, what we're thinking in rainfall for the total. It says through Wednesday. We're really talking about storm totals through the weekend, through Sunday or Monday. But this is 5 days out. Most of this will be through Sunday and Monday. 2 to 4 extreme southern Virginia, and then 3 to 5 the border counties, total rainfall, 5 to 10 south of the triangle. We'll go right from north to south here with the impacts. 2 to 4 inches of rain, minimal impact here across the border counties. Doesn't mean there won't be any, not a power outage or two, but certainly you have the least to worry about with this. You get into the area around the triangle, total 6 to 8 inches of rain possible, winds of 20 to 30 with gusts of 40 to 45. There could be some medium impacts, some power outages, obviously, some trees down, but not as widespread, more like a moderate impact with that. And then down to the south, across portions of southern Wake, but especially into the coastal plain and areas down to the south, high impacts with an increased threat to life and property because the winds will be gusting higher. It could be 10 to 20 inches of rain in some of those. Now, this is areas that we're really worried about, Fayetteville to Goldsboro, where there could be the 10 to 20 inches of rain, winds 40 to 50 and gusts 60 to 70. That would be mainly tomorrow with those winds. The rainfall will continue through Saturday and Sunday, but the winds will start to die down later Saturday and into Sunday. So, folks, again, especially the farther south you are, you need to just keep up your vigilance, stay very safe, and take care of each other. We'll be back with more in just a little bit. Amber and Joel.
Got it, Chris. Let's take a live look outside. I think we have pictures from Nags Head Beach. If we can look at those. The pier. No, let's go to Frying Pan Tower, which is 35 miles off the coast of Bald Head Island. And that flag continues to be more torn apart as the minutes go by. The wind really strong out there.
It was 35 knots. I just checked the buoy in that area off the Frying Pan Tower. So it is starting to whip. That is one of the issues that we're facing on the coast. Just those tropical force winds that are just going to be staying around for about 40 hours on our coast.
Yeah, it's the sustained wind. This storm is just moving so slowly. We heard Chris talk about it. Yeah, the sustained winds, and then of course the rain for a storm to be moving so slowly and dropping these tremendous amounts of water. That is where the concern lies. So that's a live picture from Nags Head. You can see the waves just crashing on top of each other. This is going to pick up. Storm surge is the real concern here. That's why this part of the coast was evacuated. Mandatory evacuations there. Live look again at Frying Pan Tower. This is 35 miles off of Bald Head Island. This is going to be a picture that we are going to be putting up on your screen as many times as we can if this picture stays up because it gives us a really good idea of what's coming our way. On your screen now is a live picture from Breaking News 1, which is traveling through Wilmington.
And you can see no cars on the road there because so many people did heed the warning and followed that evacuation order throughout Wilmington. And we are seeing some rain bands starting to move into that area.
Yeah, first rain bands from Hurricane Florence moving in now into Wilmington. It only gets heavier from here. Look, we checked in with Ed Crump earlier in Greenville. He was by the Tar River, which saw a tremendous amount of flooding back in Hurricane Matthew. Also a tremendous amount of flooding along the Neuse River as well. Joe Mazer standing by in Riverbend Plantation along the Neuse. Joe, good to see you. What are conditions like there?
Yeah, well, conditions are, aside from a little sprinkle, you would think it's just kind of a normal day here in Riverbend Plantation. The lake looks pretty nice. That's Iris Lake there. We saw a woman walking her dog just a minute ago, and there's some contractors doing some work on a house over here. So kind of business as usual, but like you said, there was a lot of flooding here. Hurricane Matthew, there was a substantial amount of flooding. The street that I'm standing on, expected to be flooded, but most of these people, that's what they're expecting. These houses, they're on stilts, kind of like you'd see at the beach. The people here, they haven't left. They've taken their belongings that are along the ground, moved them to a higher, drier spot, and they're just going to kind of see what comes. We talked to one guy who's lived here for 36 years, another man who's lived here for 20 years. They don't plan on leaving. They're just going to take what comes, visit with the neighbors. A lot of them said they will drive their cars to higher ground and maybe wear some waders and get out, but they're just going to live here. They've chosen to be here, and they're going to see what happens. Back to you.
Yeah, moving the cars to higher ground sounds like a good plan. We've talked to those folks many times over the years. They're used to flooding, but they need to take some precautions. Joe Mazer reporting for us. Joe, thank you.
And people in downtown Fayetteville, they are ready for the storm. We took some video of folks boarding up shops and businesses there this afternoon. Cumberland County, of course, was hit very hard by Hurricane Matthew just 2 years ago. Many residents and business owners that we spoke with say they're not taking any chances. You see them boarding up. There are still many people that are still living in FEMA trailers after Matthew as well, so not even recovered yet. One of the main concerns is the flooding there in Cumberland County.
Yeah, how about a look at the Cape Fear River in Cumberland County? We won't do that. We'll go to break looking at the Cape Fear.
Mrs. McCabe has several different types of flooring.
I have carpet, tile,
and hardwood. I've tried running those machines, but they just don't get them as clean as you do.
Vacuuming and mopping is great for day-to-day cleanings, but nothing gets your home clean and healthy like a professional carpet, tile, or hardwood cleaning from Stanley Steamer.
That's why I call.
Call or go online for our $99 special.
Call 1-800-STEAMER. Stanley Steamer, your certified cleaner.
My Pacifica hybrid minivan is so quiet, I could finally hear myself think. Can vegetarians still eat animal crackers? Another Pacifica. Safe choice, my friend.
I bet she's all super green and healthy.
Best burger ever.
Now you may qualify for up to a $7,500 tax credit on the 2018 Pacifica Hybrid. Or well-qualified lessees of competitive vehicles get this low-mileage lease on the 2018 Pacifica.
Karen Davis just loves low prices. Low prices on cereal. Low prices on chicken breasts every day of every week. And low prices on your husband's favorite, your favorite detergent, 24/7.
Hello?
Yes, Karen Davis loves the low prices at Food Lion, where the items you buy most often are priced low. Every day.
Hi, Mrs. Davis.
During Ford SUV season, find out why more people come back to Ford than any other brand. Here's a reason.
We've got room.
And here's another.
Waze says it's faster to take the side streets.
Perfect.
And by the way, Ford has won more J.D. Power Initial Quality Awards than any other brand. Now get 0 for 60 plus $2,000 cash back on Escape, Edge, and Explorer. And eligible educators get an additional $500 bonus cash on select vehicles at your Carolina Ford dealer.
See what's happening this instant. From the Raleigh Eyewitness News Center, ABC11 Eyewitness News at 4 starts right now.
Now at 4, pounding the North Carolina coast, conditions quickly deteriorating as heavy rains and tropical storm force winds from Hurricane Florence arrived.
We're on the wrong side of this thing. This storm will bring destruction to North Carolina. And remember that Hurricane Matthew didn't even make landfall in North Carolina. And look what it did to us.
That's the governor continuing to warn people of the danger as those wind gusts get stronger, rain bands get heavier, and the threat of flooding is growing. We are in first alert mode this Thursday as the threat of Hurricane Florence becomes a reality. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Joel Brown.
I'm Amber Rapinta. We've been monitoring those fast-changing conditions all day long. We have a live look now at Wrightsville Beach. The surf getting more and more violent there. The first bands of rain arriving this morning.
And here is a closer look at the intercoastal right there at the bridge to Wrightsville Beach, New Hanover County. It's under a hurricane warning this afternoon.
We have some live pictures. As we were showing you at the top of the show, you're going to be seeing a lot of these live pictures from the Frying Pan Tower. That's because it's 35 miles off the coast, a former Coast Guard light station right near Bald Head Island off the coast there. And it is a really great vantage point to see what is happening out in the Atlantic as Florence starts to move in. This camera from explore.org.
And here is a live look at Emerald Isle right now. The Crystal Coast getting hammered by ferocious winds and rains from this monster storm. Take my word for it. Don't have the picture for you now. The Outer Banks, though, not out of harm's way either. Waves crashing into the Rodanthe Pier. NC-12 right now on the Outer Banks is closed due to overwash. Look. This is an extremely dangerous storm that could bring storm surge up to 12 to 15 feet.
Chief Meteorologist Chris Holman is in the First Alert Storm Center with the updated track, and he is timing out this storm. Chris?
Okay, Amber and Joel, and that's the problem. The timing of this, it is so long, but we'll take you through it. First up, I want to show you, if we can, go to Weather 1, and we're going to show you where the storm is and where it's moving. This is the National Weather Service radar out of Morehead City, and you can see the center of Florence now. It's about 93 miles to the southeast of Wilmington, about the same, or 102 miles. It's about 95 miles or so southeast of Morehead City, but it's just offshore. If it were moving more quickly, like it was yesterday, it'd get in and out of here, but it's not. So the heavy rain bands now continue on the coast. They've got winds gusting over 50 miles per hour, and some of the outer bands of showers you see rolling southwestward now and have some heavy rain in them, but they're spotty. They don't last too long, so that's not going to create a real flooding issue, but you see there around 540 some rain, and also into Sampson County, a fairly heavy shower power. And these do have the potential for a little quick rotation and spin up. No tornado watch for us right now, but there is one just to the east of us, and parts of the viewing area may go under a tornado watch later today or tonight or tomorrow. Isolated tornado threat. Here's Florence, winds at 105. That's the good news, but looking for some. It's not Category 3 or 4 like it was forecast to be coming ashore, but still coming ashore with a Category 2 or 3 storm surge or higher is going to create widespread inundation across the coast. Tomorrow morning at 8, just at the south coast. Friday evening, tomorrow evening at 8, it's barely inland, and then it starts a slow journey across South Carolina, weakening as it does so, but staying south of us, but still very significant impacts to the north of the center. So let's run through each area. Now, the area in yellow that went by kind of quickly, that's the least impact. Doesn't mean there won't be any, but a couple of inches of rain, some winds that gust to maybe 20, 30 miles per hour in that order. You get down to the triangle, more of moderate impacts across the region with winds of 20 to 30, some gusts of 40, 45, maybe an isolated 50-mile-per-hour wind gust, and 6 to 8 inches of rain. That'll cause some flash flooding. You get down to the south across parts of the coastal plain, the Sandhills, back towards Pinehurst, you get into the high impact area of 7 to 10 inches of rain, sustained winds of 30 to 40 and gusts of 50. This would be mainly very later tonight and then during the day tomorrow. Not right now, but that's what's going to be happening potentially during the day tomorrow. And then the worst area, the most we're concerned about, Goldsboro to Fayetteville to Laurinburg and Lumberton, 10 to 20 inches of rain. The 20 inches would be in the southern parts of these areas of Robeson, Sampson County. Winds that could gust to 60 or 70 miles per hour. That would cause, obviously, widespread power outages with trees down. So you need to stay very vigilant there. We're going to be with you through it. But here's our first alert predictor. Look at how slow it moves. So here we are tomorrow morning, again, just on the coast. It's just crawling, and that's going to pound our coast, especially the south coast, the southern half of the coastline from the Outer Banks down to Bald Head Island and the Brunswick County beaches with extremely heavy rain that could be nearly 40 inches in spots. The winds of 100 miles per hour will cause, of course, a lot of destruction, but not as bad as it would have been with a 2 or a Category 3 or 4 as it was forecast to be. And, of course, the storm surge, too. Then it continues. Notice the center into South Carolina, but the heavy rain getting into the Sandhills. This is Saturday morning. It would still be there tomorrow, but continuing into Saturday morning. So, again, there's that rainfall and a wider view of what we're thinking in terms of the rainfall amounts with just incredible, near record-setting rains. The all-time record in North Carolina from a tropical cyclone, 24 inches with Floyd, and this could easily beat that. Flash flood watch is up now from Raleigh, Wake County southward. They may be extended northward, though. There still could be some flash flooding in Durham and Orange County. Don't want to rule that out. These are current wind speeds, and notice they're in the tolerable range right now, sustained at 22 around Goldsboro. The gusts, though, right now up to 30 at Goldsboro, 29 Fayetteville, nothing out of the ordinary. Certainly not going to cause too many outages with that. But you get these gusty winds and they go on and on and on, and you get the soil saturated. That's when you start to see the trees come down. This is our wind gust forecast as we go through to this evening. Notice along the coast there, Morehead City, as we get into tomorrow morning, gusts over 100 potentially in spots. And notice, too, as we get towards tomorrow at noon, near 50 in the triangle. And this is just a model. It doesn't mean it's anywhere going to be exactly right at noontime, but you get the potential here to the south of gusts closing in on 60 miles an hour, and not that far away, gusts over hurricane force. This is tomorrow evening, and that continues into tomorrow night into the morning hours on Saturday. I think that 56 at RGU may be a little bit high, but it's not impossible. There's a gust that high in a spot or two. So power outages, again, a low end, I think there will be some potentially around the triangle, but the highest risk for sure is going to be down to the south and southeast. So overnight tonight, again, some showers increasing in coverage as we head through tomorrow. Widespread rain, especially triangle southward, and very windy conditions. A lot of problems, obviously, really going to start to mount tomorrow. The rest of the afternoon, early evening, not going to be a whole lot in terms of huge problems. Just some bands of rain, but it will increase tonight. Things do improve, though, next week. Amber and Joel, as we get the storm out of here. It moves up through the Ohio Valley, and we may actually see a couple of dry days by next week with sunshine and low humidity. That would be a nice thing for a change around here. But we'll stay on top of this next few days, obviously be with you and let you know as things change, and any warnings that are issued, we'll be right there with you to pass them on.
It's good to know there is some light at the end of this tunnel.
Of the tunnel. We got to get through this first, Chris, though. We'll be looking forward to that. Eyewitness News working to bring you live team coverage as Hurricane Florence slams into North Carolina.
Our team of reporters is spread out across the prime locations to keep you informed. We've got crews near the Crystal Coast, Wilmington, Myrtle Beach, down east, the Sand Hills, and here in the Triangle. That's the roster. Let's begin our coverage in New Hanover County, where Wrightsville Beach is taking a beating right now.
They've started to see some of those outer rain bands, and the wind picking up a bit. Diane Wilson has been there all week. She's live right there near the Wrightsville drawbridge, and what a difference 24 hours makes, Diane.
You know, Amber and Joel, it really does. 24 hours ago, the sun was shining. It was a good beach day, but the bands are starting to show here right where you said. That is a drawbridge going into Wrightsville Beach, which is under a mandatory evacuation. Everyone was out last night by 8 p.m. Police are not letting anyone get on that island. Anyone who chose to ride out that storm, they can get off, but they cannot get back on. The winds, the rain have picked up here. The water is starting to flow. You're looking right now, that's Wrightsville Beach over on that side. You can see some of the businesses are boarded up. Some other ones have not boarded up. It just depends. You still see a lot of boats in the intercoastal way here, which is kind of surprising considering the amount of rains and storm surge that is expected to make its way here as Florence continues to move in and in. As right here back on the dock, you can see the intercoastal way right behind me. More than likely, as the rain continues to come in, this place will be underwater as the water continues to rise. For right now, the rain has picked up and the winds, but still not the winds with the hurricane-like winds coming in now. They've picked up a little bit, but not as strong. So, surprisingly, we had a couple fishermen over here fishing before it really comes in, but that's the latest right now. The winds and the rain coming down more and more, coming in from Hurricane Florence. Reporting live in Wrightsville Beach, Wilmington, I'm Diane Wilson. Back to you.
Diane will continue to monitor the conditions there as they deteriorate over the next couple of days, and we continue our live coverage now, heading over to Onslow County, where Derek Waller is in position along the waterfront of the White Oak River in Swansboro. And Derek, those waves, they have been rocking behind you as we've been seeing.
Yeah, they sure have. Things have been getting progressively worse throughout the day. The wind, the rain has certainly been picking up. I will show you the river. You can see the surf really picking up, and those docks there, the water level is rising up to those docks, and certainly that is a preview of what's to come with this storm. I also want to show you some video at the National Weather Service. They have an office in Morehead City, very close by to where we are. We stopped by there, got some video of them working. They have about 20 meteorologists that are actually going to be there all weekend, hunkered down through the storm, forecasting this thing. The big message they wanted to send was that even though it's a Category 2 and downgraded, that the impacts are going to be far-reaching and possibly deadly. We can also show you some video of what it looks like outside today. You know, we've seen extensive power outages, trees down, and not a lot of people. A lot of people have gotten out of here, but we did talk to one woman in Morehead City who says she plans to ride out the storm despite mandatory evacuation warnings. Listen.
Wondering when it's all going to end, or how much worse it's going to get, or is the water going to come up this way? Anything, you know, we've been keeping up with the weather. The Weather Channel. If anything, you know, we got the car ready, packed, and everything ready to go.
We want folks that did decide to stay, that are sheltering in place, have multiple ways to get a warning, because with a landfalling system such as Florence, you could get tornadoes, and they happen very, very quickly.
And in fact, this morning there was a tornado warning for this area, and they say that sort of situation can easily happen again. We're absolutely under a tornado watch, and as you see, another wind gust coming through right now. We've been seeing the same pattern all day long, and certainly we're expecting this to continue for some time. But again, they're saying life-threatening storm surge and flooding really is the big story here. We're live here in Swansboro. Derek Waller, ABC11 Eyewitness News.
Things starting to rock and roll in Swansboro with Derek. Derek, thank you for that.
The Outer Banks also in danger this afternoon as well.
Yeah, we are paying close attention to the vulnerable barrier islands. The Dare County Emergency Operations Center is open. Officials meeting there this morning. NC-12 already dealing with ocean overwash. We've got pictures from the DOT as crews were working to clear the sand from the road today.
But within the last couple of hours, the DOT was forced to close the Ocean Highway. People are being urged to stay inside and to stay off of all the roadways. Dare County is under a storm surge warning, a hurricane hurricane warning and a tornado watch. And thousands of power outages are already being reported due to the storm. This is video here of Duke Energy crews. They are staging at the Walnut Creek Amphitheater here in Raleigh as they prepare to respond to all of the outages that are forecast. Duke Energy is reporting right now over 9,300 customers without power. That's just Duke Energy. The outages are mainly on the coast. The electric cooperative is reporting over 10,000 members without power. Most of those outages also along the coastal areas as well. And now turning to the conditions in the Triangle, we have a live look at the Raleigh skyline. Raleigh is under a flash flood watch. City leaders are concerned about flooding, especially from Crabtree Creek.
That picture getting hazier by the minute. First responders spent yesterday spreading word to people in Raleigh's low-lying areas to move to higher ground. And workers over at Crabtree Valley Mall today also not taking any chances this time around. Elena Athens tweeted out this video today as crews over at the mall were working to put up those steel barriers around the Sears entrance. We can talk to Elena live now. She joins us from outside Crabtree Valley. Look, Elena, we've seen our share of storms over at the mall. We've seen Glenwood Avenue flooded. We've seen Creedmoor Road flooded. We've seen the mall parking lot flooded. We haven't seen those barriers before.
Yeah, and you know, I live in this area around the mall, and I was surprised this morning driving by and seeing what preps were underway. I've certainly never seen something like that, but lo and behold, this morning this was delivered, and we all have seen crews out here working. These are flood planks. These are heavy, these are sturdy, and the hope is that this will keep out the rising flood waters. I watched as the metal planks were being stacked and reinforced. Crews quickly working to put up barriers outside of the Sears at Crabtree Valley Mall, as well as the Macy's. I found the lower level parking deck blocked off. There are cones out, yellow tape. Not a single car is allowed to park here. Other vehicles have gone underwater in past storms. The Crabtree Valley Mall sits in a floodplain. Officials have come out and said they would never allow this project to be built here today with current regulations. Crabtree Creek is expected to swell with Hurricane Florence. Nearby apartment complexes are laying out sandbags, and residents who live in the floodplain are being urged to get to higher ground.
You may as well save it if you can. I mean, if nothing happens, there's no harm done, so may as well, right?
So we're giving you a live look right now at the Bank of America. This sits just a little bit away from Crabtree Valley Mall, but you can see those barriers are also up here just as a precaution. As far as the mall goes, that is closed right now. That closed down an hour ago. I called over and a representative wasn't able to tell me when exactly the mall will reopen. However, some stores are already predicting it could be Sunday. We're live in Raleigh. Elena Athens, ABC 11 Eyewitness News.
Elena Athens at the Crabtree Valley Mall, which is one of those flood-prone areas.
We'll see if the precautions work.
This time around, Eyewitness News' team coverage of this weather emergency continues.
Still ahead, the new warning today from Fayetteville city leaders. Plus, as we go to break, new video from Curie Beach in New Hanover County as dunes begin to be eroded by that extremely high surf brought by Hurricane Florence. The storm already washing away old Christmas trees that they were using to maintain the dunes.
Like most people, Mrs. McCabe has several different types of flooring.
I have carpet, tile, and hardwood. I've tried running those machines, but they just don't get them as clean as you do.
Vacuuming and mopping is great for day-to-day cleanings, but nothing gets your home clean and healthy like a professional carpet, tile, or hardwood cleaning from Stanley Steamer.
That's why I call.
Call or go online for our $99 special.
Call 1-800-STEAMER. Stanley Steamer, your certified cleaner. It's here!
Here comes the man.
Step up to GMC with nearly $11,200 total value on this specially equipped GMC Sierra SLT when you finance through GM Financial.
You're in First Alert mode with ABC11 Eyewitness News. You're watching ABC11 Eyewitness News, where you can count on Chris and the First Alert team. Certified most accurate forecast by Weather Raid.
And we are getting some pretty great video of the conditions out on the Outer Banks right now. This is the overwash from the Frisco Pier in Dare County. You can see the water there rushing down the street, along with some marine life, that fish.
And AccuWeather also sharing this video of the conditions at Topsail Island today. Some pretty incredible video of the large, angry waves there at Topsail Island. Take a look at the drone video here of those roaring waves as they slam into the dunes. Those oceanfront homes just feet away from the waves now.
And we are here in the Raleigh First Alert Storm Center as our coverage of Hurricane Florence continues.
The storm now rocking the Carolina coast, as you've seen from those pictures. So, Chris, is the path any clearer at this hour?
It's about the same. You know, we'll get a new update from the Hurricane Center coming up in just a little bit, Amber and Joel, but it really doesn't look like there will be any changes to that forecast. A very slow move off the coast, and it looks like we're going to see that continue slowly for the next few days as the storm makes its way very, very slowly towards the west across the region. There it is off the coast again. The good news that it has weakened continued. It did not strengthen back into a Category 4, which just highlights the uncertainty in intensity forecast. If you remember, a couple of days ago, the Hurricane Center had this in this spot, but as a Category 4 hurricane. So we're thankful for that. It's not very well organized. You see on satellite pictures. Winds at 105, though, still a Category 2, and a Category 2 can do a lot of damage, especially a slow-moving one, especially one that has pulled up so much water as a Category 3 or 4, so the storm surge is going to be higher than a Category 2 storm. But there's the track again. Tomorrow morning, still approaching the coast, south coast there. There's Bald Head Island. There's the South Carolina border. Somewhere between anywhere there, a little bit north, a little bit south. Continues moving westward, weakening, though. By Saturday morning, though, could still be a tropical storm. Approaching Columbia, and then look at this odyssey through East Tennessee up into West Virginia and parts of Pennsylvania. It'll be out of our hair by then, although we may see some lingering showers or storms. This is sort of an outer bands of rain that are coming across the region. There are pockets of heavier rain here and there, but nothing of any wind concern right now. There's a look at First Alert radar, Doppler radar. This is out of Morehead City, and there's a pretty well-defined center there. Look at the very heavy rain swirling on shore, about 98 miles off the coast at this point. This is a look at Atlantic Beach. Power's still up there, but you see the rough seas out there, and that storm surge easily going to overtake the beaches later on tonight and during the day tomorrow. This is our in-house model of tracking the storm, and you see as we head through this evening, there'll be some showers around here, but the heavy rain really won't get going potentially until sometime tomorrow morning, late tonight, tomorrow morning. On this track, our model keeps the heaviest rain south of the triangle, but the areas that we're most concerned about, again, Cumberland, Sampson counties towards the South Carolina border, extremely heavy rain. There'll be some heavy rain in the triangle. This is tomorrow evening, so it continues into Saturday. This is midday, still heavy rains. Going to be a two-day event with this, with the heavy rain threat. Finally, we get into Sunday, and it begins to move into the upstate of South Carolina, and some of the rain, this is just after midnight, begins to move on out, and we see some improvement as we head into the day on Sunday. The pockets of heaviest rain should go off to the west. So again, it looks like now 3 to Stuart and Brittany.